How would you guys describe your relationship with God?
A lot of people say they love God. For example, I could be like saying, I love God with all my heart, and I love Him, He saved me, blah, blah, blah. And then another day, I would be doing, not so pleasing things to God.
Say that the basis for having the connection with God is a love relationship.
In any relationship that you have, when you go through some sort of turbulence or trial, if both of you guys come out on the other side and are still, in a good relationship, your relationship is going to be stronger than ever before.
How would you guys describe your relationship with God? How would you describe it in everyday terms? So in this podcast, we've been discussing how to have a relationship with God and how to pursue an experience with Him, right? Mm-hmm. We've been going on for, the 10th episode or something? How would you describe your relationship with God now?
Like friends, but kind of like friends. But you know how sometimes you get angry with your friend or you don't talk to your friend in a while? Mm-hmm. Kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you were saying, having a relationship with God is like having a relationship with your friends, mm-hmm. but there's this aspect of, with your friends, there's like a wall, right? So if you break that wall, then they're kind of not your friends anymore, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have this possibility of ruining your friendship. What I love about God is that He has a relationship with you before you even have a relationship with Him, right? Mm-hmm. Like in Psalms 139, He says, "I knew you when I formed you in the womb." We had no idea about God, at all, but mm-hmm. He knew us before, and He's pursuing that relationship with us before we even start having a relationship with Him or try to have a relationship with Him. So we've been talking about how to have a relationship with God, and we've been exploring ideas and tips kind of how to have a relationship with God. But now we're going to kind of dig into a new topic of how God is pursuing a relationship with us and how we can join Him in that relationship. And we're going to kind of start off with a question that's going to kind of direct the rest of the podcast today. And it's the question of, can you describe your relationship with God by saying, "I love you with all my heart"? Can you say it totally 100%, hands down, I love Him with all my heart, nothing else is taking my attention?
A lot of people say they love God. For example, I could be saying, I love God with all my heart, mm-hmm. and I love Him, He saved me, mm-hmm. blah, blah, blah. And then another day, I would just be doing, not so pleasing things to God. Stuff like that. And it's people can say they love God with their heart, or they want to love God with their heart. Doesn't mean they love Him with their heart, because if you love Him, keep His commandments. As it says in the Bible. If you love Him, keep His commandments.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say? I mean, you're saying that there's a lot of different things that, one day you love Him with all your heart, and one day you don't really love Him with all your heart. If that's what I'm kind of getting, you kind of falter. What would you say is the basis of loving God with all your heart? And what is the basis for knowing and doing the will of God?
So carrying that super good feeling, that super good feeling that you get after you listen to a talk with someone.
Yeah.
And taking that,
I'm on fire.
Yeah, because, you have that 30-minute high, you're I'm never going to sink in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sitting there the next day, you're it's when it actually comes down to it, or when you're not on, it's super easy for the first 30 minutes, but I think kind of the basis of that would be carrying that with you. Carrying that. I mean, of course, you're not spiritual highs and lows, but
I think probably the way that we could try to love God with our heart or keep all His commandments is praying and talking and having a relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you can't just carry out a sermon and try to carry it out.
You have to. The thing is, the people that wrote the sermon, right? Mm-hmm. They studied the Bible. They prayed. They dove deep into the topic that they're studying. So you need to do the same thing with your own relationship with God. And when you do that, you'll be able to carry the sermon with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be able to live the sermon.
Live the sermon.
Yes.
Live the sermon.
Yeah.
Which would be an amazing thing to do. I would love to do that.
A sermon in shoes is more powerful than a sermon, right? So I would also say that we're talking about relationships in this podcast, right? The relationship with God. And I would say that the basis for having the connection with God is a love relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Because, so it's kind of like a husband and wife, right? Like the bridegroom and whatever. When you have those relationships, those things aren't going to be broken. You have those vows and those kind of things that won't be broken. And that love relationship,
But that's the thing, is sometimes they are broken.
Yeah.
40%.
But the thing is with God, no matter how many times it's broken,
Mhm.
you can still come back to them.
Absolutely. The basis of having that relationship with God is love.
Mhm.
Love is like the binding glue between
Yeah.
everything that brings things together, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
and can I say something?
Mhm.
Also, you kind of brought up like a relationship with, between husband and wife. When you're first getting into that relationship, you're like, ooh, I want to get to know this person better. And so that's kind of how your relationship with God starts too.
Mhm.
You see, oh, I kind of want to get to know this person better. And every day that you spend with him, you get to know them better, and you get a higher appreciation for them
Right.
until you are devoted to them for the rest of your life.
Well,
Absolutely.
but there's another stage for that. You have the dedicated stage, like you're getting to know them, and then
Yeah.
you're like infatuated, almost.
Yeah,
And then one day, things get hard. Like things get
yeah.
real.
Well, things get real, things get hard, but if you have a true relationship with them,
Well, right.
that's not going
Right.
to stop the growing and expansion. Of
Well,
the
exactly.
relationship.
But you hear these testimonies of people who have these experiences, these incredible God experiences,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Wow, I was on fire for God." But then after a period of time, after I felt like all this growth was happening, trials started coming in,
Exactly.
and that does happen. And that, like you were talking about with the marriage thing, like 6 months, it's like everything's great. 3 months or however long it is, and then you kind of start to reality
The
hits.
honeymoon stage.
Yeah, the honeymoon stage. After
Yeah.
that stage, it's like, well, it's not like, yeah, I mean, reality starts to hit in, like,
Yeah,
all of a sudden, you're starting to realize who you married because,
You start to realize that
Yeah.
person is not perfect. And you're not perfect either.
Yeah.
right,
Except God is perfect.
hopefully that comes
Mhm.
before you marry them, but,
Yeah.
God is perfect, though, like you were saying. But there's still definitely some parallels to be done.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, like those little tiny things, right? Everything in our Christian life will either enhance or de-enhance or whatever that is. De-enhance.
I don't know. Don't
Or
know.
will drop our spiritual life, right?
Yeah.
It won't make our relationship with God better, but knowing Him and experiencing Him will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
You were talking about like those trials, they'll either enhance or de-enhance it. It's kind of like, in any relationship that you have, when you go through some sort of turbulence or trial, if both of you guys come out on the other side and are still, in a good relationship, your relationship is going to be stronger than ever before. And that's the same with God. When there's a trial and you're relying on God, when you get through that trial, your relationship and faith in Him is going to be so much more than at the
Absolutely.
beginning of the trial.
yeah, our experience of God is based on a love relationship with Him, and that love relationship comes when we have that relationship with Christ, when we experience Christ. Is Christ enough? Is Jesus enough for that relationship?
Yeah.
Do you feel like He is all you need?
Right.
Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, yeah.
Yeah.
Is like knowing that God is there and
Well, you have to have the relationship, but
yeah.
Jesus is all you
Right.
need.
So, well, that's
And God is all you need.
that's
Yeah.
the trust factor. Like, is He all you need? Or do you need
Evidence.
Money.
Yeah. Well,
You need
yeah, do you need
yeah.
money? Or do you need, like, that kind of goes to surrender and is God, that kind of goes to surrender and just, is God going to take care of you? Or, you ask all those things and people, like, they have a hard time giving up their security and all these different things, right? But, or they want, like, a special child in order to be happy. Like, is Jesus all you need to be happy? Do they need to, like, get married to be happy? Do they need...
No.
Well, of course. And of course we say that, right? But when it comes to practical terms,
Do we actually believe it?
do we actually believe it? And we
And
actually
live it.
Or is it for everyone else? Is it for everyone watching?
Yep.
Or is it for us too?
Hey, that was episode 10. It's super exciting, amazing podcast that I really enjoyed. I hope you found as much enjoyment in it as I did and the rest of us on the podcast. Please join us again next time and have a great week.